Welcome to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everyone. After a very physical Steelers win today, this is your Extra Point show. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke, Bro 76. We are here, and we're going to fill all the way until 6 o'clock with a lot of post-game interviews, analysis, and then we'll take your calls on what was a tremendous kind of throwback day for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is physical football, and you knew that coming in, Chris. Harbaugh likes to play that way. Tomlin likes to play that way. This was a Steeler team that got better as the game went on, and I thought just physically won this war.
Absolutely. Listen, it reminds me of what Coach Cowher used to say, right? This game is not for everybody. It's a violent game. It's only for those who want to play physical, and the Steelers made the football game in the second half a very physical game. This was a Chargers team that was number one in the NFL in rushing. They were averaging 197.5 yards a game, Bob, coming into this game. Today, they only ran the ball 20 times for 61 yards. And on the other side of the ball, the Steelers' rushing attack got after it in the second half, really knocked those defensive linemen back and controlled the line of scrimmage. And they put up a ton of yardage in the second half of this game. They ran the ball 31 times for 114 yards, and that was primarily in the second half, because in the first half, they struggled to run the ball.
There's no question about that, and they just got better as the game went on. This despite the fact that coming into this, you knew that Troy Fautanu was not going to be able to play and could be lost for the entire season. We don't know that yet. That'll be something later to find out. Broderick Jones had to be in there. Spencer Anderson still there for Isaac Seumalo. So you had two of your better offensive linemen not playing, but as the game went on, they took control of that. I thought defensively, man, they were flying to the football. When healthy, this defense is as good as it gets. And a team like the Chargers, obviously, when Herbert went out with the injury, Landon Roberts and Cam Hayward landed on that ankle of his.
Yeah.
That changed the game, it seemed.
It changed the game. And listen, Coach Tomlin knew what kind of game this was going to be. They only came into this game with 4 wide receivers, suited up an extra defensive lineman. They knew they needed to buckle their chin strap and get after it. It was going to be a very physical game. That was the mentality the Steelers had. And when Justin Herbert went out in the third quarter with 7 minutes left, it was a 10-10 game. It was a tit for tat. It was back and forth game. But when that happened, the tide turned to the Steelers. They took over the momentum, and they really started to impose their will on the Chargers.
And this is the play you're looking at where he landed. Roberts was good on this late developing play that he came up the middle unguarded, and Hayward then fell on top of him as well. And it begs the question, he was dealing with this high ankle sprain. That's a tough injury to try to navigate. They have the Chiefs at home next week. Should he have played? I mean, if you're Jim Harbaugh, they probably thought about this long and hard. They had a couple of guys. They brought in Taylor Heineke, Easton Stick, but he hasn't really played well. Should they have played him?
Absolutely. Listen, this is football, right? You only get 17 games that you're guaranteed. He came into this game. He looked good, right? Bobby, you and I talked before the show how good Herbert looked. He was a difference maker for the Chargers, and the whole game plan shut down. The team completely changed their nature and who they were, their personality, once he went down. So you got to go in there. You got to play him. He played well. He moved well. Unfortunately, he went down on that play, and hopefully he'll get back for next week against the Chiefs.
Yeah, if not, though, that's going to be costly. He could be out for some significant games. Who knows the extent of this? They also lost Bosa, and then 2 of their outstanding tackles, Slater and Alt, both go out. Steelers had their share of injuries, too, with Highsmith on that list. Right now, Mike Tomlin, after the game, let's hear what he had to say about this 20-10 win over the Chargers.
We talked about it all week. We knew we were in for a fight. Styles make fights. They're assembled like we're assembled, and so we knew it was going to be an entertaining game. They're playing great defense. We're playing great defense. We had to challenge our defense to outperform theirs. I thought they did. We got a commitment to the run game. Obviously, they came in with the league's leading rusher and the number 1 offense, and our offense had to outrush theirs, and we did. And that's why the game unfolded the way that it did. And so I'm just appreciative of the efforts of the guys. It was a fight, though, man. These guys are obviously well-coached and a talented group. It didn't happen instantly. We had to stay in it. But that's life and definitely life in the NFL. I just like our general demeanor throughout. It wasn't fluid the whole way. But I didn't feel any blink or anybody running away from the challenge. I just felt guys leaning in on the challenge. And obviously, we're going to have to reproduce that as we move forward. It's good to be 3-0 as we sit here. Obviously, we sustained some injuries and so forth prior to the game and in game. But that's ball in life as well. We spend less time worrying about the unfortunates that got hurt and like to spend our time focusing on those that get an opportunity to elevate and contribute. Sucks for Alex Highsmith, excited for Herbert, for example, and none of us are surprised with the quality of work that he gave us, and a lot of others. Corey Trice had a hamstring. Alex Highsmith had a groin. Jalen Warren wasn't able to finish there late in the second half. I pulled him from the game. It just didn't look like he was running smoothly. We'll evaluate him. Van Jefferson was able to go back in the latter portions of the game. He got poked in the eye. His vision cleared up. He went back to participation. We got some other bumps and bruises associated with play. We'll analyze that, and I'll give you a full report on Tuesday. But just as I sit here today, I'm thankful for the efforts of the men. I'm thankful to be 3-0. It's good to be in good contests like this, man. Good on good, 5-star matchups, if you will, and come out on the other side. There's growth in it. And we better learn the lessons and keep stepping because we got challenges that await us. Questions?
You couldn't run the ball, had a hard time for 3 or so quarters, but then when you had to at the end, you did. How satisfying was it to just keep at it and keep doing it?
You know, they could say the same thing. But as I mentioned, styles make fights, and that's how these two teams and defenses are built. And so we didn't expect it to be easy sledding at any juncture, but we wanted to continue to pound the rock and hopefully break through, and it felt like we did there in the latter portions of the game.
What was the catalyst for the way the defense played in the second half?
They just wanted to be the best defense on the field. They respond to those things and take those challenges very personally, and they played like it.
Also, with the rejuvenated running game, did it encourage you and the defense that they spend less time on the field, thereby helping them kind of get through some situations?
I don't know that our defense worries about that. They got no control over when or how they take the field. They got all the control on how they get off the field. That's the life we live. I think it was reflected when we turned that ball over, right? When that ball got tipped up in the air and intercepted, you saw the spirit in which our defense took the field. So we're not looking for comfort. We're not looking to hide on the sideline. We'll get ourselves off the field.
One turnover on the tip ball, as you mentioned, but overall, how has he adjusted to playing the style that complements the way you play?
I'm sorry, who are you referring to?
Fields had the one turnover on the tip ball, but overall, how has he adjusted to the style?
He's doing an awesome job doing what we're asking him to do, playing to win, and so that's appreciated.
Mike, you only addressed 4 receivers. Can you speak of the contributions of that group, especially from Austin?
Yeah. Patterson is dual purpose as well, and so he played some wide out and running back today, and that gives us flexibility. It's the same thing that Leal gives us. Leal's capable of playing outside linebacker and D-line. We value position flexibility. It allows us to make decisions to strengthen other areas. We went with 4 wide outs. We carried an extra D lineman today because we knew we were in for a run game fight. I'm appreciative of their efforts, but I'm not surprised by it. Guys like Scotty Miller are always ready to answer the call. They might not have the big names or resumes, but they've made plays consistently throughout team development, and the guys in the locker room depend on them and expect them to deliver.
You said it wasn't a surprise that Nick kind of stepped up today. How much growth has he shown through training camp and through the first couple games of the regular season?
This guy wants to be great, but he's looking at the recipe every day of his life too. He just does, man. He's sharp enough to follow guys at his position that are doing it at a high level, who've been doing it longer than him, and I think that positions him more than anything to produce what it is you're looking at.
Does it look like he's getting more comfortable with each passing game?
I'll let him speak to that, but he does from my perspective.
Kind of along the same veins there, you called him a steady Eddie. Just what have you seen from him in the way that he's grown throughout these 3 games here?
I'd be making something up. Growth through 3 weeks is a stretch. We're doing what we have to do to win.
Coach, your thoughts, you spoke about the fight and even with your defense and your thoughts on just how they responded to Dobbins and Edwards and Coach.
We better respond that way. There's a nakedness in this business at this level. There's nowhere to hide. When you got a challenge like that walking in your venue, you better fight. We're the number 1 rusher and rushing team coming into our building. And so let's be real clear. They got to fight. They don't have a choice.
Anyone else?
How do you think Broderick Jones responded to getting back in to replace Detroit?
As I mentioned, at the early portions of the week, I expected him to respond positively and appropriately, and he did.
All right, we got TJ here.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, TJ's coming up, as you heard right there. naked but not afraid. That team, I hadn't heard that one either. We were at a hot dog thing earlier this week and now that. But, you know, the bottom line is they did what they had to do, and they made it really difficult on the Chargers to move the ball with any consistency on the ground. And I thought that was going to be the whole thing in this game. You had a team that was leading the NFL in rushing, and Dobbins specifically averaging 9.9. What were his numbers today? They were pedestrian comparatively. So they did a good job up front. You know, you look at guys like Cam Hayward. He was all over the place. He may not have the numbers, you know, on the stat sheet like others. However, he's clogging things up. He's doing some things. And, you know, what can you say about Nick Herbig, too? This is a guy who comes in with sacks, 1 fumble forced. He also had 2 tackles for losses. Yeah. Every time he gets a chance, and they're going to need it if Highsmith is out for a while because he does have a hamstring injury, as Tomlin said. And listen, injuries are part of the game, just like blocking and tackling are part of a football game. And so you have to have depth. And if you don't have depth, the guys that can step up like Nick Herbig, then you're going to have a struggle throughout the season because Nick Herbig came in, like you said, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, put a lot of pressure. And then you talk about Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward, his stat line might not look great, right? Cam had 4 tackles today, had a sack. But what he did was he took up blockers, and he allowed Patrick Queen, he allowed Landon Roberts, Peyton Wilson to run around the field unblocked and make plays. They needed that today. The second half of this game, Bob, the Steelers held the Chargers offense to -5 yards. No points. They had 5 sacks. They had 0 sacks in the first half. 5 sacks in the second half. They completely took over the game and imposed their will on this Chargers team. It was stunning when you saw the first half the way it ended, and all of a sudden you're expecting something to go right down the wire, and the Steelers took total control. We will talk about Justin Fields, his effort today. You're going to hear from him and others as we continue here with a Forward Extra Point show following a Steelers win 20-10. They're 3-0, and right now the only undefeated team in the AFC. I know the Bills haven't played yet. Neither have the Chiefs, but 3-0 sounds good after 3 weeks. You can't get better than that. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
We continue with our final stats brought to you by McClellan's Contracting and Roofing, and you can see here if you really broke it down in the second half, it was so one-sided. But the key thing, again, is third down conversions, both offensively and defensively. They're doing it on both sides of the ball. There's no question. You dominate a football game. The Steelers have done that every single game this year. That's why they're 3-0. And 7 of 14, 50% on third down. Listen, anything over 37%, 35% is really, really good in the NFL. 50% is lights out. And that's why you saw the Steelers start to impose their will on the Chargers, because they controlled the clock in the second half and they wore down that defense. Yeah, time of possession, also check mark Pittsburgh Steelers. And what about, Justin Fields, 25 for 32. We saw some in the middle of the field throws, including that 55-yarder to Calvin Austin, which was great. All because the Steelers gave up just a 6th-round draft pick. I found it interesting that Jim Nantz and Tony Romo said that could be the steal of the season. It might be, as it turns out. Justin Fields spoke after the game.
Yeah, it was huge. I think, the offense, we did a great job responding, and we knew what kind of game it was going to be. So, just proud of the guys out there for, responding like we did, especially after they scored that first touchdown, like you said, and going down and putting a drive together. So it was good.
On that touchdown to Calvin, what were you looking for there? Can you talk about what happened and just, of course, how big that play was?
Yeah, of course, huge play. They were just in zone. Quarters, and you really just high-lowing that hook defender. The hook defender took GP underneath, and Calvin was right behind him. So great play call in that situation. Of course, you always appreciate the yards after the catch that Calvin got us, and of course it was a huge play for us.
Bigger picture, can you speak to what Calvin and Scotty Miller brought to the offense? Yeah,
those guys definitely stepped up today. Calvin doing everything on offense and special teams as well, and then Scotty too. I don't think he played last week, so just coming in, he had a big third down conversion for us, broken tackle with some yards, so they both played great today.
Calvin said that you guys threw some exotic. They were going to throw some exotic blitzes at you guys, and you guys were prepared for some of those strikes over the middle. You had the third down conversion and the touchdown. How does it feel to execute something like you guys planned it out, saw it, and got those big plays?
Yeah, it feels great executing. We were preparing for it all week on certain looks we would get in certain situations, and like you said, we did a great job executing it. O-line did a great job today, and holding up, and receivers just being at the right time at the right place. So, yeah.
Justin, we heard all week that the dam was about to break on the offense. You guys stopped short of scoring that third touchdown, but is this what it looks like when that dam is in the process of breaking?
Yeah, it is, and I think we could have scored one more touchdown if I didn't throw that interception. So like we said, we're just going to keep working and keep getting better and keep improving.
What did you see on that interception?
Yeah, he just smashed the stick route way too fast, and I just shouldn't have thrown the ball. Got tipped. But at the end of the day, either should have worked the other side of the field, thrown it to the flat because they were so soft, or just throw the ball away, especially when we were already in field goal range at the 40-yard line. That can't happen. That can't happen again. So yeah.
Do you feel like you're proving your detractors wrong? Detractors from Chicago days.
I'm not really worried about that. I'm more so into proving, myself, right. I know, what kind of player I am. I haven't changed kind of my whole life. So at the end of the day, my teammates helped me be great. So shout out to them, shout out to our defense, shout out to everybody else on the offense for pushing me each and every day at practice. And, it's just a credit to them. So I'm definitely, glad and just feeling good to be in this position, to be honest with you. So, yeah.
All right, that's Justin Fields after the game, and very understated, very confident, yet he doesn't go out and talk anything other than let his play speak. And so far, look at this number here, 245 today. That's his best output as a Steeler quarterback, a touchdown. And I thought a really good read on that play for Calvin Austin. 55 yards, but he had to put it right on the money, and then that safety came up. Yeah. Once he did, he's not going to win that race.
Listen, what I love is how they're using Justin Fields. They're letting him grow in the offense, right? And he's very efficient. He's dinking and dunking. He'll take his shots when they're there, and that's what you're seeing right now, right? He'll come around, and if nobody's open, he'll just dump it off to Najee Harris. He'll dump it down to Cordero Patterson. He's made one mistake in 3 games, and he was trying to force that ball into Cordero Patterson. The Steelers got that takeaway, and they had to give the ball right back to the Chargers. That was the only mistake he's made. What he's doing is he's just handing the ball off, taking what the defense gives him, and every once in a while, when that opportunity arises, he's right on the money.
And I think also this change of scenery, he comes here, he's comfortable here, yep. He's taking his time. They're doing a good job of doing what he wasn't doing in Chicago. If you look at the last 2 years combined, weeks 1 and week 2, as a member of the Bears, he had 6 turnovers in the first 2 weeks of the season in those 2 years. Coming into this one, he had none. 1 today. That was a pass maybe he shouldn't have thrown, but it was popped up in the air. It could have gone anyway there, so a little unlucky. But I think he's, 3 coordinators in 3 years in Chicago. He won't have that here.
Here's the deal. He's coming into a Pittsburgh Steelers team, the culture of an organization. It's consistency. When you go to the Bears, they're turning over coaches like I turn over all night long, right? That's what he's doing in the Bears. He comes here. It is, just Coach Tomlin, he calls him Steady Eddie. Coach Tomlin is Steady Eddie in that locker room, in the team meeting room. And so when you come here, you don't worry about making mistakes. You go out and execute the game plan, and you know that Coach Tomlin has your back. And that's what we're seeing from him. That's why you're seeing Justin Fields thrive.
So I would imagine there's going to be no coaching or quarterback change here at any point. Not now. Why would you, right?
I don't see how you could do that right now. He's playing really, really well. Right. They're 3-0. He's very efficient with the ball. The Steelers are +4 turnover ratio. I think they found their quarterback of the future, to be honest. Yeah,
it looks that way right now, and we'll see how it goes. It's a long season, and injuries do pop up, as we saw with Justin Herbert. And you don't know how it's going to go. Anyway, Calvin Austin not only had that 55-yard touchdown pass, which was a beauty, but also, you might remember, a 3rd and 14 he converted for 26 yards that led to a field goal. He talked after the game.
We're, having some issues, but today, once we execute, I feel like those plays are always there and kind of been there, but whether it's an assignment missed here or there from somebody, we just wasn't able to execute. But that's why each game is a new game. You go into each game with a new slate. So we were able to attack it today.
Calvin, it seemed like they were in that too high shell for most of the game. Like, what kind of challenge did that present? How were you able to exploit it on your touchdown?
Sometimes with a too high shell, they want to try to keep everything in front. So you sometimes gotta capitalize on some rack run after the catch. So we've been emphasizing that all off season. So it kind of came into fruition here.
Did you think you were going to get caught from behind, or did you know you had speed?
I didn't think so, but I was tired. I won't lie on that. I was feeling it, but I know I had some extra blocking out there too, and I knew once I saw the end zone, I knew I was going to get there somehow.
What did you see from Justin today?
What he's been doing since he got here, always being cool and collected, communicating all the time on the sideline with what he sees, getting guys on the same page, and just doing exactly what we need him to do to lead us and win.
How do you feel like the confidence of this offense has grown in the last 3 weeks?
It's just continued to grow game by game, practice by practice. I mean, sometimes we don't get the results that we want to out here necessarily as just a specific offense unit, but we see growth each game. And like I said, as long as we are executing our offense, we are for full steam ahead.
Calvin, is this kind of like the recipe or blueprint of how you guys want to win games?
You know, I think each game presents its own new challenge, so whatever opponent that we play for that week, I think we have enough talented guys, and you know, coaches put us in great positions that whatever way that we need to win, we can kind of go about it that way.
Well, those yards after catch are very important, especially for somebody who can run like he does. You might remember that big play he had last year in Vegas. Well, today, 4 receptions, 95 yards. Again, the big 3rd and 14, and then the 55-yard touchdown. And also Scotty Miller. You got to talk about both those guys because you know they hadn't done much going in this one. Miller made a big play for 20 yards when he was guarded by Asante Samuel.
What happened to all the talk about the Steelers' wide receiver room? They don't have talent. What are they going to do? They go out and trade for Ayuk. And now you have guys like Calvin Austin going out and putting up 95 yards, a 55-yard touchdown catch and run. And you're seeing, okay, this guy's coming into his own. Sometimes players, Bob, need an opportunity. Calvin Austin's given that opportunity. And you see right now, the Steelers don't want a lot of receivers. They got 4 guys up today, a bunch of tight ends. They were going with different formations, different sets, personnel, with 4 tight ends, 1 receiver, and 1 back on the field. So what's happening is that you're starting to see the creativity of Arthur Smith, and you're starting to see a lot of players blossom with the opportunities they get.
Opportunities knocking for a lot of guys, and those guys are answering that door. We're going to take a break here, come back with more post-game reaction for a Steelers win today to get to 3-0. This also happening while the Browns had a lead at home and they lost again. So they're 1-2. The other 2, Ravens and Bengals, are still 0-2 for now. We'll talk about it and more as we continue. 20-10, Steelers beat the Chargers today.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, we continue now taking a look at the leading tacklers in this game, and Patrick Queen had more total tackles today than he did in the first 2 games combined. So he's getting better, and sometimes it does take time. You're with a new system, you feel more comfortable. Deshaun Elliott, another guy who's been very active. We saw last week how he came in out of nowhere, 3rd and 1 and stuffed the play against Denver. Jackson has been good. Cam Hayward, the list goes on. But Queen is another good example of somebody who's just getting more and more comfortable with the system.
Yeah, and listen, last week I talked about Patrick Queen and how he needed to step up, right? The Steelers paid a lot of money for him to come here. Last year, Bob, in week 1 and week 2, he had 8 tackles and 11 tackles. This year, in 2 games, he had 6 tackles. This is the kind of football player they brought. He was physical. He set the tone from the very first play. If you remember, he came off scraped to the right side of the line of scrimmage and lit up J.K. Dobbins, and he sent a message from the first play. That's the kind of football player the Steelers need in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and he had an interception right in his hands, and he couldn't haul it in, but that's another play that could have been big for him. As far as the Steelers with those sacks today, they had 5. One of them belonged to T.J. Watt, who gets to 99.5 for his career. Let's hear what he had to say after the game.
What do you think was it helped you guys turn the tide there after halftime and really shut them down?
Stopping the run, being able to get in one-dimensional spots, get after the quarterback, just having some fun.
What can you say about Nick's performance coming in for Alex?
Not surprised, man. That kid works his tail off. Pretty much do everything together. When we're in the facility, I'll text him tomorrow when I'm going in the facility. We'll get work. Me, him, and Alex work a lot together. It's never, I wish that was me. It's, I'm happy for him. A kid that asks all the right questions, and I'm not surprised by the performance. He went out there today and played with a lot of swag and confidence.
TJ, now, I was in Atlanta. A couple of my colleagues from here had said, I said, what do you fear about TJ Watt the most? He said, he may not be the greatest guy, but he always makes plays when they need him. And so I was thinking today, how does it feel like, is that a weight on you sometime that people expect you to kind of rescue the defense when it's needed?
No. And I mean, it's just going out and playing football and trusting in all of my film study and my instincts and my abilities to prepare throughout the week and get my body right to go out and prepare and make plays for my defense. We have so many guys on this defense that are capable of making plays, taking games over, and I'm just trying to be a small part of it.
Their style of play on offense and the challenges that it presents, how do you feel that you responded to that as a defense?
Good. Obviously, stopping the run. I don't have the stats up here, but it didn't seem like they ran for a lot. We're able to shut them down in the second half. Obviously, the backup quarterback went in, and when it gets to one-dimensional spots, we have so many so much depth on this defense in the back end and up front that we feel very confident with our pass rush and the guys in the back end to make some big plays when we need it.
You mentioned having fun out there. You guys held them to 0 yards in the second half. Just how much pride as a group do you take in that?
Huge. This week was 2 trains on the track. I mean, 2 top defenses coming in. We know they love to run the ball. We love stopping the run, and haven't looked at the film yet, but it seems like we outperformed today. But that's a hell of a football team, and it means nothing if we don't get back in the lab and learn from all this and keep going.
Back to Nick, 4th round pick. I think probably overlooked because of his size. Why is he able to have success in spite of his stature?
That kid has supreme confidence in himself. You can't tell him anything, and I respect the heck out of it. And he's going to do everything that he possibly can to perform. He's going to ask every question. He's going to turn over every stone and just bust his tail. And I respect the heck out of Nick, and I'm glad that he had the day that he did today.
How much have you seen him grow since last year to this year?
A lot. I mean, even him, Keanu, just those second-year players, Joey, you see the jump because you're so much more comfortable out there. You're not just out there saying, I have the curl flat this drop. It's like, okay, I know what I have. Now I can hear. I can use all of my senses and diagnose what I think is potentially happening on this play. And that's why I think you see that jump from those guys from year 1 to year 2. But with that being said, it's because they want to learn, and he's capable of doing it, and he's, able to apply what he learns to the game field, which is huge.
Coach made a point.
I'm sick of talking about Herb. Let's just stop all this right now. Jeez Louise.
Coach made a big point about you guys.
We're not, though. We're going to keep talking about Herb. Why not? Because he gets in there, and every time he does, double trouble. Normally it's Highsmith, and he's the good complement, but he got injured, as I said. Boy, they have a lot of depth. When you see this guy come in and look at those numbers, again, limited play, and he did get around Slater, who later left the game with injury. So that first sack of his was against a really good first-round pick.
Yeah, look at that. 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits, and that is in the second half.
Yeah, he did it all. He was outstanding. Now let's hear from the man who TJ says he doesn't want to hear about anymore.
Just get after him.
We were just all playing off each other, man. It's a team game. Our offense is running that ball. We was getting after the quarterback. DBs are holding it down. PQ, E-Rob coming up, hitting. That's all we can ask for, team ball right there.
Much was made about the challenge you guys faced on the perimeter. There were those 2 tackles you guys were going up against. Talk to us about what your preparation was like this week and how you think you handled it.
Yeah, I think, I know we have the best edge rusher in the whole entire world, TJ Watt. He's the best in the business, man. And, at the end of the day, he's going to do what he does. We play off each other, man. We feed off that energy. It's a team game.
How was your first sack when you got in there?
What was that?
First one deep in.
Oh, man. I was hoping I fell on that ball, but, fortunately they got it back. But, yeah, it's a good feeling for sure.
Nick, a team game, but how about your individual performance? Can you just talk a little bit about
that? I'm not too worried about that. At the end of the day, we got a dub. That's all we can ask for. First one at home. Steeler Nation showed out today, for sure.
What's it been with this defense?
I think just the way we bond, man. Like, we have a tight-knit group. We play off each other. We got guys bringing energy. I think having PQ is big time. He brings a lot of energy to the group. And I think we just all love to play the game of football together.
How critical was it to stop the run and get them into some of those pass rush situations?
Yeah, at the end of the day, if there's a team trying to establish a run and you can eliminate that, it's going to turn out good for you.
And that's the value of a guy who can get around the edge like he did. They were deep in their own territory when he hit Herbert and the ball came out, the strip sack. Fortunately for the Chargers, they got it, but it could have been disaster having the ball. The Steelers could have been first and goal at the 5.
Well, you look at it, quickness off the ball. The get off is so important. You look at TJ Watt's sacks. He's so fast off that football. He's able to go around the edge, does a little dip, then you have Herbig, and when he's coming off the ball so quick and so fast, and that is it's so tough for offensive tackle that are so big to get back and block these guys. That is a huge asset for the Steelers, and then it allows other guys to step up from the interior. When you talk about today, it was Cam Hayward. Before it's been Ogunjobi. I mean, really, they all kind of feed off each other and elevate each other's games.
You heard him talk there about the crowd, and it was really a big atmosphere there today. I think it made a big difference, especially in the fourth quarter.
It always does. And listen, that's when the Chargers started to fall apart, right? You look at that last drive. The Steelers Nation was up, loud, and screaming. They had a run for 14 yards, a run for 11 yards. They had a run for 12 yards and 22 yards. Those were the 4 big runs in that last drive, and that's when they took a little bit of the Chargers football soul.
Yeah, they did. And when we come back, we've been talking about the tackle situation for pretty much all year, and we're going to hear from Broderick Jones, who had a bad game last week. He was in there today, slow start, got better as the game went on. We'll hear from him as we continue live right here on the Ford Extra Point Show following the Steelers win 20-10 to get the 3 wins, no losses.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Taking a look at the standings. I know it's only 3 weeks, but hey, you can't get better than this. 3-0, the Steelers. The Browns lost today. They were down early. The first play they made was a touchdown today. It was Watson to Cooper, but after that, the New York Football Giants dominated them. Ravens are currently leading Dallas 14-3, so they need a bounce back. You don't want to go 0-3 in this league, Chris. And the Bengals will be home to Washington tomorrow night. On Monday Night Football, 0-3, normally you don't dig out. Conversely, teams that go 3-0, 80% of the time get to the postseason.
Yeah, who would have thought this just a month ago, the Steelers would be 3-0 at the top of the division. I mean, everybody, all the reporters, all the analysts, they have mud on their face because they had the Steelers here 2-1, 1-2. And so the Steelers being 3-0, what I'm excited about, Bob, is that you and I won't be sitting here in December and saying, man, if the Steelers just would have won that game in Denver, they'd be in the playoffs, or we don't have to wait till the end of today to see what happens in this game. Winning in September translates into big-time opportunities in December and January, and the Steelers, they just got to keep this going. They can't get too confident. Continue, like T.J. Watt said, get in the lab, but right now, what a great start and puts them in a nice spot to continue to stretch down the season.
Yeah, and while Denver looked bad last week, the Steelers made them look bad. They come back and go to Tampa and beat Tampa today after Tampa beat Detroit in Detroit last week. So go figure this league. All right, Broderick Jones. We talked a lot about the tackle position. He had 3 penalties on 6 plays and was taken out of the game last week. Not supposed to start this week until an injury to Troy Fautano. He did start today in his place. Let's hear what number 77 had to say.
Got to continue to just get better and continue to just, fix the little mistakes that we make as an offense, and me as my own player, and just continue to build. But we came out with the win today. I feel like we finished the game strong, and imposed our will a little bit. So it was a good.
Is this the offense you guys kind of been searching for so far?
No, I honestly don't feel like we're there yet. But we're taking a step each and every day trying to get there. We just got to get in the. All the weapons we got on offense, no reason we shouldn't get in the end zone 3-4 times a game. That's how I feel. So, we just got to continue to build and just keep sacking.
Is this almost like the recipe or blueprint of how you guys want to win?
Coach always said it's not going to always be clean, so sometimes you got to win dirty. And, at the end of the day, we do what helps keep us on track and, stay efficient in our run game and in our pass game and as an offense. And, the defense go out there and play lights out. And, we just really lean on our defense. So we're leaning on our defense a little bit right now. I just want to be able to do the same. I want them to be able to do the same, with us when it's time for us to show up. So, we just got to continue to get better.
It sounds like you're not satisfied. You want to strive for more.
Nah, yeah, I'm never satisfied, when performances like this. At the end of the day, like I said, we got to win, but, I just know we got so much more in our offense. So I just want to see, the progression from here on out and just see how we go from there.
So fortunate to have the depth. They replace a number 1 pick with another number 1 pick who was actually picked higher after the Steelers trade up to get Broderick Jones. So you assess his effort today. Was he better as the game went on? That's the way I looked at it.
He was better. Listen, and him, and just like a lot of the players, need to continue to improve. Be in the lab, studying, breaking down the film, understanding where some of the breakdowns were, some mental errors, right? Tony Romo pointed one out early in the game. So those things got to get cleaned up because those things can really hurt you. If you let a guy come free, Phils could have been sacked and could have caused a fumble. You don't know what can happen there. So getting in the lab, many of them, and improving their game is something that will be a priority this week.
There was a lot of chatter, and it happens throughout the course of a preseason. Yeah. Should the Steelers use Dan Morris trade bait to go out because you had two guys you're going to ultimately play a tackle. But it goes to show you the depth and how it's tested in the NFL. Last year, the Steelers had virtually no injuries to their offensive line, right? They went through the whole season. This year, all of a sudden, you've lost your center, even though I think Frazier is going to beat out Herbig, but he's out. Sayamalu hasn't played yet this year, and now a number 1 pick goes out. If they had traded him, again, now you're really potentially in trouble at the tackle position.
There's no question. Depth is so important. TJ Watt talked about that. And here's the reality. You're only as good as your 53-man roster, because if you don't have the guys that are in 47, 48, 49, all the way down to 53 that are guys that can step in and play, you're really going to struggle because you're going to be tested year in and year out. Teams are tested. It might not be at the O-line, but it'll be at quarterback, it'll be at receiver, it'll be at safety. So you've got to coach 1 to 53 and make sure when the door knocks, you're able to bust through that door and make plays. And you see guys step up play after play in the first 3 weeks of the season.
And Sayamalu hasn't yet played. I think when he's in there, he's probably one of the best at his position. So that should be, hopefully getting to an end. He should be able to be in here maybe next week against the Indianapolis Colts. As far as the offense, Pat Freiermuth was a big contributor as well today. 4 catches, and you can hear the mooth going on at Acrisure Stadium anytime he's in the middle of the field. He makes some catches. This is what he had to say after the game.
The biggest thing that I've seen from the offense today was just, when adversity hit, we didn't panic. We continued to grow. I think, when Justin had that turnover, there was no, sulking or anything like that. We scored a field goal and a touchdown after that. So I think that's the biggest thing is, when stuff like that happens, we got to continue to, reset and then go out there and execute. And I think we were able to do that today.
Are you seeing the offensive players, their confidence in Justin growing as he continues to have success?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have all the confidence in Justin, and, he's led us to, 3 wins now. So, all the confidence in the world with Justin.
Pat, it's almost like this blueprint for how you guys might team visions for you guys winning games this year.
Run the ball, score touchdowns, and play some great defense. That's Pittsburgh way, and we love it. We embrace it, and I think it's been great.
Did you get the sense? Dan just said that last drive that he could sense from the other side that those guys were done. Did you feel like all that leaning on them all that time for the first 50 minutes, and then you just kind of took it over the last?
Yeah, I mean, other than the Denver game, I think. Other than the Denver game, I think the Atlanta and LA, I think they were just tired. I mean, I think we have the hardest camp in the NFL for a reason, and it shows late in games. And when we can lean on the run game and execute, and the running backs can break off big runs like that, and the line can create movement, we're going to be hard to stop.
Yeah, and that's the whole game plan. Hard to stop, possess the ball, and get physical, and that's exactly what they did. Before we go to break here, we have a sad note because it involves a name who is widely known around the NFL, Mercury Morris. Member of the Miami Dolphins back in the 1970s, especially 72, when he and Larry Zonka became the first pair of teammates in NFL history to rush for 1,000 yards. He passed away today, and he's from this area. He was a big-time player in the WPIAL when he was here, and we certainly wish his family all the best and condolences for a guy who was really outstanding at what he did, a big part of the Dolphins and their run to success.
Welcome back to the Ford Steelers Extra Point.
Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you, and we'll be taking your calls here momentarily, but let's check around the league and see, again, the Giants beat the Browns today. Vikings, Chris, they've been extremely impressive. That's a good Texans team, and they beat them with Sam Darnold doing a good job.
The resurrection of Sam Darnold, right?
That?
Look, and who would have thought 2 2-0 teams that would have lost so lopsided like that? I just can't believe that the hapless New York Giants go into Cleveland and put it on the Cleveland Browns. I mean, that just blows my mind. I mean, they're sitting at 1-2 now. That's a game they should have won.
Well, how about the Colts? That's the Steelers' next opponent. They won. You saw the end of that game, 21-16. But the Packers, without their starting quarterback, Love's out, so Willis comes in and does a fantastic job. I saw his stat line earlier. It was, very good, very solid there. And Malik Willis leads them to a win over the Titans. I wonder how long the Titans are going to stick with Will Levis.
Well, how about this? Malik Willis gets tossed out by the Tennessee Titans, and he goes, and then he comes back, and he puts it on his former team and embarrasses them. I mean, what a way to go and show them, hey, listen, you went with the wrong guy, because Will Levis now is really struggling.
He is, and Mason Rudolph is down there waiting for a chance, just like Willis potentially. We'll see how that goes. All right, Cam Hayward spoke after the game, the defensive captain of this team. He was outstanding again in the trenches. This is what he had to say.
We got him out of the rhythm passing. Once we took care of that, we could really just pin our ears.
Cam, is this kind of maybe a recipe or blueprint of how you guys want to win games?
I think there's definitely a lot of things we can take from this game that make us successful. Our offense running the ball, having success. We don't really want to settle for field goals, but get touchdowns. And then on defense, stopping the run. We didn't have the turnovers like we liked, but we got the sacks and got to play our brand of football.
What does it feel like emotionally when the front is buzzing like that, the defensive front, and it just seems like you guys are pretty unstoppable line of scrimmage?
We're all just, we're a pack of hyenas. It's like you dangle a little bit of meat. It's just like everybody just wants a piece. So, I think it's a bunch of guys who are just hungry to get the sack first. I know TJ's going to try and fight me for half the sack.
I know the most important thing is winning, but you moved to the second all time here in sacks. What does that mean?
It's not done by myself. I know the record's mine, but that's second. It's working with guys. It's communication. It's working on your technique. From working with the groups under John Mitchell, Brett, Aaron, Casey, Ziggy, to working with guys like Larry Ogunjobi, Stephon Tuitt, Javon Hargrave, TJ Watt. Alex Highsmith. It's just Keanu Benton too, but it's a bunch of guys that are winning their one-on-ones, and I'm trying to win mine.
He's done a lot of that so far in this young season. A lot of people, debated whether or not he was going to get his contract extension. You don't find most guys in this league at his age seemingly remaining the same or actually getting better. But the last 3 years of his career in his 30s has been some of his best football.
Well, he's been on the rise. And listen, last year was because of his groin. That's why he struggled last year. And really, when he came back, he just never got over that. It was always nagging. And this is a guy who, been triggered a little bit, right? I mean, they discounted his play, thought that he wasn't as good as he used to be. He just wanted to be paid fairly. And now he's coming out with a chip on his shoulder, showing everybody, I can still play this game at a high level. He wants to get rid of the rest of that contract because, Bob, that contract is not fully guaranteed the whole time. He's got to earn it. And so this year's a big year for him, and I believe that he'll continue on this pace. Yeah,
Landon Roberts is going to speak with us next. And, I don't know if you knew this, but Mike Tomlin refers to him as the tooth chipper.
The tooth chipper?
Yeah. Do you know what that means? Tooth chipper.
He hit somebody hard and they chipped their teeth.
Chips. Okay, apparently so.
That's why you wear a mouthpiece.
We talked about that. Rich Walsh interviewed him this week, and that became an issue, a topic that we had. So let's hear from the tooth chipper on a play that he took Justin Herbert really out of this game.
Landon, we talked about it earlier this week. Stopping the run. How important was that for your guys' success again this week?
Yeah, big time. Big time. We put an emphasis on it, and, when I didn't execute it.
How have you guys been able to get to the quarterback so effectively so far this year?
I
think 5 sacks today.
Yeah. Don't get blocked. Get off blocks. That's all I can say, man. That edge tandem and our whole front seven, man, is playing, real good. And we communicating with it. Like I say, it starts with communication, because when you communicate on them type of plays, you anticipate playing fast because you know what you got, And, man, today we came out, we put it all together.
What about the second half? What was going right? I think they had 1 first down, -5 yards. What was going right for you guys?
And where?
The second half.
We came in at halftime, made adjustments, and there it is.
Why is this defense had...
I can't remember, actually. The sack that you had where you looped in with Leal.
Yeah.
Is that one of the things you're talking about, communicating? That was a different look that you threw at them and seemed to work nicely.
Yeah, me and TJ was communicating before that play, because they was working that guy to TJ's side. And I was just kind of like, I ain't going to have nobody to block him. They're not going to have enough. So, like I said, we just was able to execute defensively. And it was just, I was just that number in that spot, and was able to make a play for my defense.
It seems like you guys really can't key on one guy on defense, and you guys always talk about the next man up, like Nick Herbig today, for example. It's just another guy making play after play, isn't it?
Yeah, man, because we not just Herbert, but anyone on our defense, that's how we kind of build it, man. Not a next man up mentality, but when you get in, it's a certain standard we expect you to play at, and we got all the confidence in the world in Herb and stuff like that. And even when Alex came back out, Alex was all pumped up right there with him and stuff like that. That's the kind of defense we have. It's family oriented. Like, we only want to see our brothers strive. Same when me and Peyton go in and out. I'm right there rooting for Peyton. I want Peyton to, when Peyton out there, I want him to make every play. Like, I'm selfish because that's my little brother, you know what I'm saying? And I want him to make it all, you know, and that's just how the defense is, you know, and stuff like that. And like I said, it starts with communication. As long as we communicating well, man, you know, we're going to be able to put some good games together.
This defense has been able to do.
Well, they're doing a lot of communicating. There's no question about that, and it shows in the numbers. He had 4 tackles today, a sack, also a tackle for a loss. Do you like guys who do interviews with the full pads on? Because most don't. Did you do that?
No, I mean, very rarely you see that, but it shows he's a football guy, right? What I loved today was some of those tackles, 4 tackles, were big hits. And really, that sack that he had changed this whole game. If you look, he had 44, Matlock, man-to-man, the fullback. He stayed in to help out with the block on T.J. Watt. That's when Landon Roberts, who was way off the ball, about 10 yards off the ball, was able to slide into the rush because his man was blocking. He was able to come unblocked and sack Herbig. That's where Herbert got hurt. And that's the big play where then the whole game turned and went into the Steelers' favor and the momentum changed.
Yeah, there's no question about that. When he went out of the game, the Steelers kind of dug in and dictated tempo of this game. All right, now it's time to take a look at the Ford road ahead, as we always do at this point. Brought to you by Ford, and it starts next week with a trip to Indianapolis. And then the Cowboys, who are really struggling, they come here for an 8:20 game. Then it's a trip to Vegas to take on the Raiders. And that is always going to be well attended. That's where stadium takeover takes place with the Steelers fans out there. And then the Jets, who are looking pretty good with Aaron Rodgers. Your take on these next 4?
Well, listen, Aaron Rodgers played like Aaron Rodgers last week, right? Yeah, on Thursday night. He looked really, really good. I see the Steelers, the way they're playing right now, if they can even play this way, these games are all winnable games. I think the one that really looks really, really tough to me is the New York Jets game. But again, you can't look too far ahead. Even though we're looking 4 weeks ahead, they have to take it 1 week at a time at the Colts this week. And the Steelers play Steeler football. They're going to go ahead and win this game, and they'll be 4-0.
Yeah, and you never know how things are going to transpire either with injuries. It just changes week to week. So that's going to wrap up this show, the Ford Extra Point. We thank you for joining us. But coming up, we're going to turn it over to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, where we have an opportunity to talk to you, but you have to call us first at 412-575-2600. We continue after the Steelers get a big win on a beautiful day in Pittsburgh, 20-10 over the Chargers. The Steelers are 3-0.